Hey there, adventure seekers! It's time for our weekly dose of awe and inspiration. Get comfortable and prepare to be enchanted by these extraordinary stories. Let's jump in. Story 1. Today I effed up by writing down all the lies I've told on an Excel sheet. Okay, let's get this out of the way first. I'm a chronic liar and will take any advice, any criticism. I'm a very meticulous person and have been diagnosed with OCD, so very early in life, if I were to tell a lie, I would keep a record so I wouldn't forget what I said and not get in trouble for it. Today, my now ex, Eve, found my lies list when browsing files on my laptop looking for something. That list has awful lies that I've told her, her family, my family, friends, coworkers, strangers, etc. Some of the lies include people who don't exist, people who aren't dead, people who are really dead, things I have and haven't done, and many more awful things I'm not proud of. Let me explain. This started at a very young age. For example, Mom, I can't go to school, I feel sick. I wouldn't go to school, and a few weeks later, when the opportunity came, right, this medicine is from when I felt this and that one day. This follow-up ensured I would not forget about what I lied about. I kept that bad habit because I got good at lying, like very, very good. Most things would work my way when I turned 18. I got the job I wanted, the position I wanted, the things I wanted, all by lying. So when I entered college, I created an Excel sheet with all the lies I had told that day, sorted by date and person. I don't update my list every day, but I do tell lies every day, the small ones. I don't even notice it anymore, but I can keep track of them, even on days when I tell 30 plus. Say, OP, didn't you like today's coffee? No, I did not at all. And I haven't touched the coffee at all, but I do keep track because in my lie-based world, I have a coffee, so it'd be weird if I had another cup after stating I did not like it. So anyway, 3 years back or so, I started with pretty big lies. I told Eve I didn't like chocolate, so I'd never eat chocolate around her or people who knew her just in case. I guess I find thrill in living this way, like a sick video game with dozens of conditions to avoid or you lose the game. Knowing this, I hid my list in a random sheet inside the Excel document, which contains a lot of pages with movie notes, thousands of pictures from school, tables, random crap, etc. I might have been overconfident about it because Eve found it out of curiosity, and there are things in the section with her name like Uncle Ben, dead, October 12th, 20. You had COVID from September 23rd to January 3rd, 22. You know X place. You work in X company from X to X. Didn't go to her eye surgery because you were doing X. And under that, I write fake details like the clothes I was wearing, who I had talked to that day, lies that were contradicting around those days, people that might catch me if they found inconsistencies, etc. Eve obviously freaked out, confronted me with a broken tone I had never heard before, and took a step back when I tried to get close. So I sat down and had to admit everything. It was a nightmare. She cried, asking how she had never noticed. As she read through pages and pages, more and more things that I'd said to her, things that were core memories for us, were planned lies. And yeah, it was not pretty. I do feel honest love for her, as ironic as it might seem. I'm not lying in this text. And I'm not entirely sure what I wanted by lying to her those years, but there's no excuse. I did what I did, knowing the consequences, and here I am. Eve stormed out of our place and called my therapist, shared a copy of the document, and he explained it was disappointing to see that my therapist was one of the biggest sections and said he believed most of those things. He then explained that even though none of the things written in there aren't strictly illegal, I still had to answer some questions to cops since it seemed like I have an alter ego for certain people, so that could make me suspicious of fraud or identity theft. The cops came earlier this morning. It was a calm chat, but they took note of everything I said and paid close attention to my body language, tone of voice, words used, etc. I effed up huge and my life won't be the same anymore. I'm sure all the people I know won't want to see me again, so writing this is sort of my preparation for that. I feel like a piece of crap, and I don't doubt I am one. So anyway, thanks for reading. It felt relieving to vent this out. So this really wasn't a today I effed up. This was just most of my life I have effed up. Now, I wanted to give some leeway because you're dealing with OCD. I don't know everything that comes with that. I don't know what maybe you've been through and what traumas you've had in your life. that might have brought this habit on, and so I don't want to shame that. However, what you're doing is affecting other people, and you're lying to everyone in your life like it's a game and manipulating them, and none of that's okay at all. And the way that you talk about it like it's a game, it's thrilling, it's fun, it's very problematic. That is something that I imagine you'll be talking to your therapist a lot about, and hopefully a habit that you can break, because yeah, I don't blame your girlfriend for walking out on you. Like, if I found that out about someone, I would never trust them again. I don't think you could do anything to convince me to trust someone after I found something like that. I just couldn't, and I think that's fair, unfortunately for you. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for going to my sister's dream school when she just got rejected? So, I got into Cornell last week. Honestly, I think it was a fluke. I'm not smart at all. I got a 28 ACT, a decent GPA because my school grades inflates considerably. I had some decent extracurriculars, but nothing remotely competitive enough to get me to a school like Cornell. But anyways, my twin sister is the opposite of me. She's a genius. She has way more impressive stats, 34 ACT, and she only took it once compared to my 3 times. She has way better grades, way cooler extracurriculars. Everyone always looked up to her as the smart one. I didn't and still don't mind. It's true. The only reason I can fathom I got in and she didn't is that she applied to the engineering college while I applied to arts and sciences. I don't know if too many of you guys are familiar with Cornell, but they have a bunch of different colleges you can apply to, each with their different admission criteria. Well, last week, decisions for Ivies came out. Unfortunately for my sister, she didn't get into a single one, including her first choice, Cornell. She checked as soon as it was available and called me bawling. I consoled her and told her everything was going to be okay, that who cares what school you go to, that she was brilliant and was going to be successful no matter where she goes. Well, anyways, I pretty much resolved that I was getting rejected, so I didn't even bother to look at my email until later that night. Well, I guess surprises do happen sometimes because I'm a Cornellian. I got in. I just don't know how, but I did. I really want to go, guys, but this would devastate my sister. All week she's been crying and solemn and sad. She's been angry with her friends who got into top schools, especially the ones with lower stats. She decided to go to NYU, but she just hasn't been herself. I haven't told our parents. I think they assumed I didn't get in because she didn't. Am I being selfish? Should I just go with her to NYC? We've always thought we were going to school together, but it's Cornell. I couldn't in a million years imagine I'd get in. I've been researching obsessively about it, and I can't shake the desire that if I don't go, I'll regret it. Ithaca looks beautiful. It's a small town, which I would love to get away from the huge city that is New York. It seems like a dream opportunity. Am I a bad sister? I know she would be upset. We were supposed to go to school together. It would crush her. I really don't have anyone else to talk to. Am I the a-hole for going to her dream school? Especially considering how much harder she worked compared to me? Yeah, but is it really fair that you don't get to go to the school you want to go to? That clearly you earned it. You got in because you earned it. You applied to a different college. The applications between, the arts college and the engineering college, there's got to be a huge divide there. They're not looking necessarily at grades and this and that for arts, She made a choice. She went for what is a really demanding field. Take this from someone who, at one point when first applying for colleges, was going for engineering. I was going to be a chemical engineer, and then I did a bunch of calculus and I hated it. So I changed. But it is a really competitive field, and I'm sure the arts are competitive too, but if you got in, you earned that. And yeah, you wanted to go to college together, but look, I don't have a twin. I don't know what the connection is. But if it's for you and you feel like you would regret not going, I think that you should go. I don't think there's anything wrong with the two of you having different experiences. I mean, you already would going to the different colleges within Cornell. So I think that you should go. But I don't think it would be terrible if you went to NYC. I don't think which college you go to necessarily means as much as some folks think it means, but if it's an opportunity that you want to pursue, then I'd say you should probably pursue it. It'll hurt and it'll suck and she'll be mad for a bit, but hopefully she'll get over it. Story 1. I heard my in-laws talking about getting my wife back together with her ex. I'm sorry if I write something incorrectly. English is not my first language and I'm pretty horrible at it. I, 35 male, have been with Abby, 35 female, for 13 years now. Every day that goes by, I love her more, and we're even expecting our first baby. For the holidays, we always stay 2 to 3 months visiting my wife's family, but the problem is that this year, all the family was really excited, saying that Alan is coming. In all the years in the family, I never heard of an Alan, and my wife didn't even care about it, so I thought it was just some cousin. But the famous Alan was my wife's ex and first love. The man lives in Europe, but Abby's family still have contact with him and even invited the man to the house now he's in the country. I try to get along with Alan, but the man just ignores me and takes every chance to get closer with my wife, making jokes or talking about the past. I didn't take it personally because I don't want to look jealous, but lately he's been coming every day to visit the family and Abby's family and started comparing his accomplishments to mine. They're all big fans of Alan, and I honestly feel jealous of that because they're treating him better than me. 2 days ago, I heard my mother-in-law and brother-in-law talking about how nice it would have been for Abby to stay with Alan because he's a smart man. What hurt me the most was hearing my brother-in-law say that he can try to get Alan and Abby back together, and my mother-in-law just laughed, saying it would be good to go on a trip to Europe every year and not to the countryside with the peasant. Talking about me because I live in a farm with my wife just because she always dreamed to live in that kind of quiet environment. In fact, now that I'm no longer blindfolded, I started to notice how my brother-in-law makes too many comments to my wife about how great Alan is, although Abby never says kind things about Alan, and I think she even treats him like he's a child. I don't feel comfortable being here knowing that they see me as a dumb peasant, and it's horrible to see how they try to include Alan in the family when they still treat me like I'm just a casual boyfriend of Abby's, but my wife only sees her family these months of the year, and I don't want to ruin that or put that kind of stress on her since she's pregnant. I feel like I'm in some kind of rom-com, but I'm in the role of the bad husband and protagonist leaves for the handsome CEO, haha. Okay, first off, how absolutely just cruel and gross of the brother-in-law and mother-in-law for saying that kind of crap. Like, what is wrong with them? And also, why can't they just understand that Abby is happy? Like, just, what miserable people. But the big thing that gets me is if Alan is actually on board with this, how pathetic is Alan? 13 years! The writer of this and Abby have been together, which means her and Alan have not been a thing for bare minimum 13 years. I don't remember the names of some people I was interested in when I was 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I'd be 27. Yeah, I went on a couple dates from dating sites in that year. I guarantee you I don't remember the name of at least one of those people. How are you still hanging on to feelings like this after over 13 years, Alan? Because if you are, wow, between you and the writer of this, one of you's pretty pathetic, and it's not the person who owns a quaint, lovely farm. Story 2. I asked my girlfriend's father for his blessing to propose, and he said no. Some background. We've been in a relationship for 5 years and living together for 4, and this is the best, most satisfying relationship I have had in all my life. She works in the healthcare industry, and her kindness towards those in need and less privileged than her is what drew me to ask her out in the first place. In the last 4 years between us, there have been some light fights and only one big fight. The fight happened in October 2014. She planned for lunch with Carl, which I had to miss because of a work-related emergency. He called me later that night saying that I don't show him the respect he deserves and I'm always trying to get out of family events because I don't want to be around him. Which is not true because half of the planning and organizing on his birthday was on me and it was a big event. In the morning, I told my girlfriend about his call, and she brushed it off as him being intoxicated. The next weekend, when we went to her parents' place for family dinner, Carl was extremely hostile towards me, but I kept silent about it, until he said that I should not have missed lunch. Every other Sunday is family dinner at her folks' place, and I rarely miss it, so I didn't think it was that big a deal. I apologized to him and said that I would make up for it in some way. At the next dinner, I bought a bunch of smart wearable accessories for him because girlfriend suggested he was interested in them. He refused to accept the gift, and when I insisted, he walked out saying he needed some air. I had no clue what was going on, and my girlfriend's mom was mortified, apologizing to me over and over again for Carl's behavior. When we got home, I asked my girlfriend if there was something going on which she was not telling me. At first, she tried to brush it off, but then she said that it was my fault for not seeing that her father was not interested in being buddies and wanted my respect, not friendship. This was a complete surprise to me because I never really thought of him as anything more than her father. We would just watch the game together sometimes and chat about it later, but that was the extent of our social interaction. Girlfriend said I needed to earn his respect, and I told her I had done nothing wrong. That's when the fight started. But a few days later, Carl called me and said he liked the watch and other accessories. That's his way of declaring truce, I guess. After that, I was always extra careful never to miss any event with him. Last June, my girlfriend's mother died, and it was an incredibly difficult time for everyone. I tried to be as supportive towards the whole family as I could. I cut down my work hours to spend more time with them. Girlfriend and I started cooking the family dinner at his place because she thought it would be better for him to see the house alive with people again. And we made it an every week event for a while just to spend more time with him. Multiple times we made extra effort to host family events, and once we even flew his elder sister over for his birthday. I'd thought he would warm up to me a little, but I guess I was wrong, which brings us to today. Girlfriend is away for the week on work-related stuff, so I planned the whole proposal. I was going to decorate our apartment like a planetarium with stars and planets and write, "Will you marry me?" and the stars. It's from Friends she is obsessed with. I wanted to start the preparations with his blessing because that way he would feel good about me asking him first and he'd feel included also. I planned a lunch with him for today to ask for his blessing. I told him how much respect I had for him and that I wish one day I could be as good a father as he was. Then, when I asked for his blessing for the marriage, he blew up. He was absolutely livid, saying that her daughter deserves a better man and that he never really liked me much and had always hoped the relationship would end. He said all the butt-kissing I was doing last year has shown that I just wanted to appear like a good man to my girlfriend and didn't mean any of that. I was so shocked because this is not how I expected it to go at all. I left him still spewing hate and went to one of my friends' places. Told him and his wife everything, but they're just as shocked as I am. I spent the day at their place and got home about 2 hours ago. Not sure how to proceed now or even what to do. Should I tell my girlfriend that her father said no? Should I proceed as if nothing has happened? For now, I'm drinking and playing video games. What should I do? I say you proceed with the proposal and sucks to him. I'm sorry, but if he's going to put up that many barriers to earning respect for him and not give you some idea of what he wants, no matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough for him. It sounds like he is just determined to dislike you. And if that's the case, sucks to him. Propose anyway, and if he has a problem with it, then too bad. Who cares? I'm sorry, but you have done enough, and if he's going to interpret that as just butt-kissing and not genuine, then that's his problem. At this point, you seem to be very much in love, and your, I hope now, fiance seems to be very much in love with you, so yeah, to heck with him. Story 1. I am pregnant after a fertility struggle while my husband admitting getting someone else pregnant. My husband and I got married 3 years ago. When I was a teenager, I was told that due to medical complications, I may never be able to have children. But after 2 years of trying and fertility treatments, I'm now halfway through my pregnancy with our miracle baby. Unfortunately, because of some complications, I had to cut back on my hours at work. It's very physical. My husband offered to pick up more hours to compensate, so he's been working a lot more in the past 2 months and coming home later. I couldn't see that anything was amiss. Things were the same as they've always been. He always brings home flowers, food, things for the baby, coffee. He's always sending me thoughtful and loving texts throughout the day. The gaps where he was unreachable were explainable. But this morning, he sat me down and gave me the news that rocked me. He told me that he's been having an affair for the past 6 weeks and that his affair partner just found out that she's pregnant. He says that if she decides to keep it, she's going to raise it by herself and that they mutually agreed to end the relationship already. He wants to make things right. I don't know how things can ever be right again. He just wants to move on from what he's calling his transgression. How do I ever forgive him? How do you deal with the unthinkable? How do I learn to live with the idea that my child's sibling might be out there somewhere someday? Most importantly, how do I learn to move on like he wants me to? Edit. I have an OB appointment for unrelated medical reasons tomorrow, at which I will make sure to request extensive testing. I have plans to meet with a lawyer on Monday. I'm talking to my sister to see if I can stay with her. My relationship with much of my family are fractious, but I have a pretty positive relationship with her. I will not be seeking other options other than having my baby due to being pretty far along and having been told in the past I would not conceive. Regardless of what my husband has done, I love my child. Edit 2. I saw my OB on Friday and I will hopefully have some test results, fingers crossed for all negatives, within the next few days. I will meet the lawyer tomorrow and go from there. My sister advised me to stay at the house that my husband and I co-own until I talk to a lawyer. This has been such an emotionally harrowing time for me. He's acting like everything is normal. All I want to do is sleep. I keep telling myself it'll be over soon. Yeah, I mean, A, you're under no obligation to forgive him for what he's done. Especially with him just acting like it's like, that was my transgression. Big mistake, let's just move on. Like, no. That is a big mistake. And the ball is 100% in her court now. And if she cannot learn to trust you again and stuff, she has every right to be like, no, we're done. I can't imagine how you could do that. I'm always on that side. Now, if you want to try and work things through, I have known folks in the past who they've had, cheating issues come up, they've worked through it, and they've been together, another 10 or so years now, and that can work. But it takes a lot of work, I'm sure, and a lot to rebuild that trust that's been broken. And I don't think anyone is ever under the obligation to try to make that work when someone has transgressed like that. Story 2. Today I effed up for accidentally telling my husband I'm pregnant after a night of heavy drinking. This just happened and I can't tell anyone in my actual life because we're keeping everything related to pregnancy private. First off, I'm not pregnant. Not even close. Not even trying. My husband recently went with me to my IUD appointment. Intrinsically, I think he knew I couldn't be pregnant. But we have been talking about having kids for a year or so for Christmas, which we celebrated in January on a random weekend and exchanged personal gifts, I got him a First-Time Dad's Guide to Pregnancy book. I thought it'd be a sweet gift. I did not remember exactly what the book looked like. We were sipping mimosas for Christmas morning. Well, apparently, the front of the book in gigantic letters says, "We're pregnant!" My husband opened the present across from me and froze. He looked at the book. He looked at me. He was frozen. We cheated on dry January last night and got pretty sauced. He knows I just got my IUD swapped. I was sitting across from him happy and smiling, completely oblivious to the heart attack-inducing news he was trying to process, sipping a mimosa. He mumbled, "Is this what I think it is?" I said, "Yeah, it's a First-Time Dad's book." He responded, "Are you telling me?" And I was like, "Oh, God, no." He flipped the book around and we both stared at each other before busting out laughing. He needed a few minutes for his heart rate to come back down. My one question is, why would you get him a book titled, First-Time Dad's Guide to Pregnancy, when you're not just not pregnant, but as you said, not even trying? Like, I can get it if you were trying to get pregnant and you're like, hey, I thought I'd get this for you, since we're trying. But you're not even trying, so yeah, I can definitely understand why if I got that book and looked at it, I'd be like, what? I would also be very shocked because my partner and I don't want to have kids, but that's a different story. But yeah, no, I don't understand how this happens and how you were even for a moment confused about it. It sounds like you were trying to play a big prank on him. So I feel like you would have been in on it. This is weird. Story 3. Divorcing my husband without trying to make it work? My soon-to-be ex-husband, Eric, 40 male, and I, 38 female, were high school sweethearts, and we grew up in a small town where the majority of the population was white. Eric is white, and while I am not a typical-looking white woman, I have enough features that I could be considered white passing. I recently discovered I'm mixed race, important later. Eric and I got married after I graduated high school. I became pregnant when I was 26 and had fraternal twins, now 12, EJ, male, and Natalie, female. As the twins got older, EJ started to look like Eric, blonde hair, albeit curly and fair skin, and Natalie started to look like me, dark wavy hair, but her skin would get darker like she had a permanent tan. Eric and I were confused by this because no one in our families had a skin complexion like this. Eric became a cop after college. When the kids were 7, Eric got a chance for a promotion, which moved us to the city. I started to notice that Eric would make prejudicial comments against certain communities of people that I would shrug off because they were not overtly offensive. One of Eric's coworkers noticed a picture of EJ and Natalie and asked if Natalie was adopted, as she had African American features, and suggested that I might have had an affair after conceiving with Eric, as it was possible that twins could be fathered by 2 different men. This planted a seed of doubt. By the time the twins were 11, Eric couldn't hold his doubt anymore and demanded a paternity test. He explained his doubt, so I obliged. The test came back as Eric being Natalie's father, but he would act distant towards Natalie. One day I was using Eric's phone because mine died to look for a recipe for dinner and came across a support forum where Eric was convinced I slept with a black man, was making awful comments about black people, and that I somehow altered the DNA test results. I was furious and confronted Eric. He said there was no way Natalie could be his and demanded another DNA test. I agreed to prove him wrong, and once the test came back, we contacted my parents because I was genuinely confused about where Natalie's features came from because my parents were white. After dancing around the topic, my mom confessed that my dad was not my real dad, and my real dad was biracial. After looking at an old picture, my dad looked white at first glance, but the longer you looked at him, the more you could see his African American side. I happened to not inherit those genes. This seemed to appease Eric, but I could not forget the comments Eric made about black people and told him I wanted a divorce. He apologized and said he couldn't understand at the time, but I told him it was disgusting that was what he thought about the community, and I refused to raise my children in an environment that fostered and normalized negative thoughts about any community. Eric and my parents tried to get me to rethink my decision and to go to counseling. I agreed to go to counseling, but I'm not changing my mind about divorcing him. Yeah, 100% good for you. Eric sounds like a piece of crap. I'm sorry. If he was, just saying some racist crap, before all this with his cop friends and stuff like that, that's already a big old red flag that I'd be like, maybe rethink the whole Eric thing. And then to be demanding a paternity test because he's like, you cheated. That's not my daughter. He gets the results and then continues to be going online and being like, nope, it's still not my daughter. I'm sure of it, and saying racist things there. Yeah, I don't care what Eric says now that he's been proven wrong and understands how he's wrong. He was still a piece of garbage. And while I hope that he improves as a human being and tries to better himself, you are under no obligation to be a part of that journey with him. He has burnt down that bridge, and if you don't want him to build a new one, that is your choice, and I support it. Story 1. My mother keeps talking to my husband about my ex. I, 24 female, am happily married to my husband, 21 male, and soon to have a bundle of joy coming. Our current living situation isn't the greatest. We've had some financial hardships that have caused us to move in with my mom and her boyfriend. When we're around my mom and her boyfriend, they tend to bring up my past relationship and talk poorly of my ex, which I could care less, but it's more of the matter that they do this in front of my husband, and I can tell it makes him uncomfortable sometimes. So, rewind back to the breakup. It happened in June 2022 and had met my husband through a social media platform in November 2022, and eventually tied the knot in early January 2023. I've not been in contact with my ex for over a year now, and I have told all friends and family that I would like them to cut ties with the ex for my own sake. However, I have spoken to my mom about this, and she still follows him on social media. Everyone else I've asked kindly to remove him did, besides her. She likes to tell my husband what he's been up to or tell him stories that have happened in the past prior to meeting my husband that are irrelevant. My husband and I have gotten into arguments about this topic due to my mom not listening to my wishes. I guess what I'm really trying to get at is, what do I do in this situation? I've spoken to my mom about this, and she sees no wrong in any of her actions. She tends to play victim. It upsets me and truly makes me feel as if my now current husband is not good enough, or she simply does not like him and is trying to drive a wedge in between him and I. I never like when parents do this kind of crap. Like, it's not just bringing up exes, but doing something that their kid tries to talk to them about and is like, hey, I really don't like when you do this. It makes me really uncomfortable. And the parent goes, oh, no, it's nothing. It's no big deal. I don't see anything wrong with it. The thing that you should see wrong with it is that it's making your kid extremely uncomfortable. And if you cared about them and how they feel, that is the reason. That's enough of a reason to stop. You shouldn't need anything else unless it's like, like if for some reason like the mom worked with this boyfriend and had to deal with him at her job or something. It's like, okay, fine. Like, hey, she can't avoid that. She's working with this person. It's unreasonable to ask her to stop doing that. That'd be one thing. But this is just her actively like snooping and gossiping. Like, what is wrong with you? That is like, you can't give that up. How sad is the rest of your life? Find a hobby. Do something else other than gossiping about someone that other people are extremely uncomfortable with you gossiping about. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for asking my husband why the cameras don't work when he's home alone? Recently married and combined households by moving in together. Great relationship, healthy intercourse life, good communication. I, 38 female, have a few cameras around the house for security and to communicate with the kiddos that don't have cell phones yet, but mainly to see when my kids get home from school. I could care less about the cameras most any other time. I had these and more at my old house, but I've only set up 3 so far at the new house. The new house also came with a Ring doorbell camera. My husband, 43 male, is work from home. The first few weeks in the house were fine. No hiccups or glitches with the cameras. The Ring doorbell worked like a champ at every slight bit of movement. The first week he was alone in the house, and the first day the kids go off to school, when they come home through the front door, there's no Ring notification. The timeline glitches as if the shots were deleted. He is the main Ring account holder. I'm shared. I can't delete anything. That evening I mentioned it, and he got defensive, so I initially dropped it. I wouldn't have married him if I didn't trust him. I was just curious about what happened. Later we talked it over and I explained that I didn't think he did something malicious, but something definitely happened. Agreed to move past it. I decided to just take note on when I noticed the glitches. It has happened a few more times and always on days that he's been at home alone. Every so often I've asked one of the kids what he's doing when they got home, and most of the time he was playing video games or in a work meeting. Today around 2, I go to check the garage camera to see if he's left the garage open, which he does frequently, and we end up with exorbitant power bills. So I remind him to shut the door. I get the error, live view failed. I tried the front of the garage, same error. I screenshot and sent them to him asking if he knows why they aren't working. He loses his crap, starts saying I am accusing him of hiding things. Now, I didn't think he's cheating. We have a healthy intercourse life. We typically communicate, but I just don't understand. The cameras work great when he isn't home alone. He has access to the cameras just as I have access to the Ring. If he isn't hiding anything and not messing with the cameras, why the defense? I didn't ask what he was doing, but I did insinuate that I thought he had something to do with it. It's hard not to be a bit suspicious when his reactions are like that, because what? No, that does not add up. And, yeah, you know what? Maybe what he's doing is harmless. Maybe he's just eating shredded cheese right out of the package in front of the fridge like a goblin or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it is malicious. But the fact that when this person is like, hey, why aren't the cameras working? And he's like, how dare you? What do you think I'm doing? Huh? I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just not me. It's like, whoa, buddy. If you're getting that defensive, either A, you have just real bad trust issues or something like that going on, my dude, or B, you're doing something and you're getting defensive because of that. Like, one way or the other, you gotta work something out a little bit because this seems a little sketchy. Story 1. My husband and I conceived after divorce, conflicted and heartbroken. This is a long. I'm sorry, I've sort of written a novel here. I wanted to post this in a relationship advice group, but the subject matter isn't allowed. My ex-husband and I were married for 10 years, although the last 2 were spent in variations of separation. We've been divorced for roughly a year. We have 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5. I'm pregnant with our 4th baby. I don't know if we'll actually be parents to 4 kids or not. I'm so conflicted. We are so conflicted. There was no abuse or cheating in our marriage, although he did sleep with somebody else during our separation. There are a variety of other reasons why we ultimately got divorced. After the initial feelings of failure and heartache, and there was an immense amount of heartache on my end despite being the one who filed for divorce, we were able to get along pretty well. It becomes platonic so quickly, and it's like when we removed the romantic and married relationship from the equation, things got so much better. We split time with our kids 50-50. That's really hard for me because being a mom is such a huge part of my identity that I still sometimes struggle to know what to do with myself during his time with the kids. Ultimately, I'm happy that he's a loving, involved father, and I'm glad that they do spend half their time with him, even if I still sometimes cry over not being with them all the time. We still do things together as a family sometimes. We sit together at our kids' activities, things like that. He has a girlfriend now. She seems nice. He met her not long after our divorce was finalized. It hurt. I cried way too much over it. He waited over 6 months to introduce her to our kids, which I was thankful for. My kids like her. Our youngest child was unexpectedly admitted to the hospital not long ago. He had surgery. In the grand scheme of things, it was a pretty minor surgery and he's absolutely fine now, but this is my baby and he had to spend multiple nights in the hospital, so this was a big deal for me. My ex-husband was there the entire time, being a great dad, being a supportive partner to me as I worried over every little thing. We spent all those nights in the hospital together, and I remembered why I married him. He was always able to be the strong, level-headed rock for me. He was this safe person who I knew would take care of everything and protect me. When we were in the hospital, he told me that I'm still the most important woman in his life, still. When our son was discharged, my ex-husband came back to the house. My baby was home safe, and our other 2 children were excited to be home after staying with my husband's sister for several nights. We were all together at home like a family again. That night, after our kids were in bed, we had intercourse. I hadn't been hoping for it or planning it. It was just like as soon as the kids were tucked away in their rooms, we were having this intensely passionate, needy, amazing intercourse that we shouldn't have been having. We went to sleep in my bed, and at some point in the middle of the night, we had intercourse again. The next morning, we both decided our emotions with the whole situation with our son just got the better of us. We said we didn't regret sleeping together, but that's all it was, and we were just going to go back to our normal divorced lives. We wouldn't make it awkward, just move on. Then I found out I was pregnant. We didn't use a condom. I don't even have condoms in my house anymore. I'm not on birth control. I haven't been since we divorced. I haven't needed it since I haven't had the time or interest to start dating again. I really wanted to be single for a while. I know I was ovulating when we slept together, which was probably a contributing subconscious factor as to why it happened. My body sees him being a good dad and to our kids, and it wants another. My cycle is like clockwork, and we've always conceived on the first try every time we tried to get pregnant. Our first kid was not even a try. It was a 2 weeks before our wedding, you find out you're pregnant and spend your honeymoon with morning sickness surprise. So now I'm about 8 weeks pregnant. I've known for about a week. I just told him this past weekend. I didn't know if I would tell him at all. I realize now that I only told him in hopes that he'd tell me what to do and figure the situation out for me, only he didn't. I know it makes no sense to have a baby with somebody I chose to divorce. I don't need a 4th child. Why can't I let go of this, though? I don't know. I mean, there's still emotions there. Clearly, you still have a lot of emotions for this person that you haven't been able to fully process and deal with, which is understandable. It seems like you had a long marriage and you're still, close and happy together. And now this is just like rejoining you to him and not letting you move beyond it. I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it's a weird situation. And, whether or not you keep the kid is 100% your decision. And if you do, I'm certain that you can still proceed on with life how you have been. And if you don't, I'm sure things will be fine too. So, I don't know. Not an easy situation, but, it is what it is. Story 2. Am I the a-hole? My best friend's wife told him that she had an affair with me. The last 4 days have been the most horrible in my life. I have no idea how to deal with anything and wanted to get opinions on what to do next since I see posts like this on Reddit. My best friend's wife told him that she had an affair with me, which never happened. I, 35 male, have been married to my wife, 35 female, for 8 years. We have 2 wonderful kids. But this is about my friend Josh, 35 male, and his wife Mary, 34 female. I met Josh during my freshman year of college, and we've been friends ever since. We've always shared our love of tech, and he is always my go-to guy when I need someone to talk to. Josh started dating Mary 5 years ago. Let's say Mary has a very different set of morals than my wife or me. She's very loud, manipulative, and just craves attention. Josh and Mary have been dating on and off for 4 years. They broke up often, but somehow always ended up together after a few months. Mary is always the one who breaks up with Josh and then takes him back. I also know that Mary cheated on Josh with at least 2 guys when they were dating, but somehow convinced him that he was not putting enough effort into their relationship. Josh always blames himself for Mary is not happy. My wife also knows about all of this and has always kept her distance from Mary. However, we do meet her often during parties with friends. Josh and Mary got married last month. Josh found out that Mary was cheating on him again and had an affair with one of her coworkers. Josh was completely broken and stayed at our place for a week before going back and confronting Mary and kicking her out of the house. Josh bought the house before marriage and hence he had to get the cops involved to kick her out. From what we know, Mary moved back to her parents' house. I've been helping Josh through the process, and he filed for divorce last week. Last Saturday, Mary came to Josh's house to collect her stuff along with her dad. I advised Josh to get out of the house when they came, but he wanted to make sure she did not take anything that did not belong to her. During her visit, Josh got into a fight with Mary, and Mary told Josh that she had an affair with me while they were married, and we used to do it in their bedroom. This is all 100% false. I have always known that Mary was trouble and kept my distance from her. I feel she's just trying to hurt Josh by saying that. After that incident, Josh got extremely agitated and came to our house. I saw he was distressed and knew something was wrong. As I opened the door, he started cursing at me and accusing me of sleeping with Mary. Luckily, the kids were not at home, but my wife and I were there, and we were both shocked by what he was saying. He tried to punch me, but luckily he hit my shoulder, and I was able to wrestle him to the ground and calm him down. I kept on telling him that what Mary told him was completely false and that I had never spent a single minute with her alone in my life. My wife threatened to call the cops, and he left. After he left, my wife was completely inconsolable. It took me hours to calm her down and convince her that Mary was manipulating Josh. I work from home and rarely leave my house without my wife or kids. I think she believes me, but she's been different for the last 4 days. Josh told a lot of my close friends that I was having an affair with Mary. He's not taking my calls or my wife's calls. My wife tried to call Mary, but she was also not taking our calls. All my friends, including Josh, think that I'm the biggest a-hole for getting involved with his effing wife. I have no idea how to convince anyone that this is false. I'm just so frustrated. Can someone please give me advice on what I can do next? Hey, Josh! Why are you believing the person who's, cheated on you multiple times and constantly manipulated you and has a reason to try and, upset you? Why exactly are you siding with her in all of this, you absolute dingus? This is so frustrating because, how does this person absolutely prove that? Seriously, try and okay, ask her what day it happened. Tell her to say exactly what effing day it happened and then prove an alibi. But also, why should you have to do this? Why can't Josh just believe you? Why can't he believe the person who has been a good friend and has no reason to lie over the person who cheated on him and is angry at him and is a liar. Like, this makes no sense to me. Oh my God, Josh, you're an idiot. And I just, oh. Story 1. My husband used bed bugs as an excuse to cheat on me. I, 32 female, have been married to my husband Mark, 31 male, for 3 years. We have 1 son, 5 male together. I recently had to travel to another state on business for 3 days. This is common for my job, and Mark rarely complains about it. He's always been supportive of my career as I am the primary breadwinner. This time was no different. However, things quickly became strange to me after I left. I called home on the first night after I got settled in to check on them. It took a long time for him to answer, and when I asked to talk to our son, he eventually told me that our son was staying at his mother, my mother-in-law, so he could have some time by himself to relax. He admitted that after he told me that our son was already asleep, it was only 7 p.m. My trip ended up being cut short, and I was able to head home a day early. I figured I would grab takeout from Mark's favorite restaurant on the way home and surprise him. When I got there, no one was home. I called Mark, but he didn't answer. As it got late, I began to get worried, so I called Mark a few more times and still nothing. I called his mom, and she did confirm that she was watching our son, but told me that Mark had asked her to watch our son so he could go on a romantic getaway. I don't know why he didn't just tell her the truth, but I didn't think much of it because we have convinced her to watch our son by using that excuse before. I sat and watched TV until I fell asleep on the couch waiting for him. I woke up around 3 a.m. to a text from him asking what I needed and if I was okay. I asked where he was, and he just said, "Why?" That peed me off, so I didn't respond and just went to bed. I woke up again to the sound of the door opening at about 6 a.m. It was my husband, and he seemed surprised but excited to see me. He ran right to me and expressed how happy he was to have me back home. The two of us spent the rest of the night in bed, but I couldn't sleep. In the morning, I confronted him and asked him where the hell he was. He told me that he found out the house was infested with bed bugs and they had to fumigate it. He was staying in a hotel and it might have been unsafe still when I got home. Then I asked him why he was home so early in the morning and why he told his mom we were on a romantic getaway. He said that he couldn't sleep at the hotel and that he just wanted to make sure his mom would agree to watch our son. He started to get very angry with me and said that he regrets coming home so early from the hotel if I was just going to make accusations. I get where he's coming from, but it still doesn't sit right with me. I don't know why he didn't tell me that the house had bed bugs. I hate to think that my husband might have cheated on me, but I have caught him sending flirty messages with a coworker in the past. He stopped talking to her voluntarily. I just don't know. I don't trust him. I'm sorry. I know there's no, hard proof, but going hours and hours without responding to your calls and texts and stuff like that, and the weird excuse with with his mom or whatever, and just all the stuff. There's too many coincidences. It's too many coincidences. And the bedbug thing, it's like, oh, okay. Can I see the receipt for the bedbug thing? Which agency did you go through? Maybe we can do something with it with taxes. I don't know. Show me the receipt. There's too much happening here. There's too many weird coincidences. I don't trust him. I think you're probably right not to trust him. And I usually like trust, but I don't know. I'm in a mood. I'm tired and crabby today. I've had enough. Story 2. I hurt the nicest person I have ever met. This is a throwaway as all people involved are avid Redditors. I need to tell someone what I did. I feel guilty every single day for what I said 4 months ago, and I do not know what to do in order to be able to move on and focus on my life. So I came here hoping that I can find my peace after writing this for complete strangers. I, 30 male, have had a friend since childhood, Clark, 26 male. Clark married July, 24 female, 2 years ago. This summer, Clark and July invited some of their friends, including me, to their new house in the mountains. There, they had a pool, a jacuzzi, and a room for games in which there are even some arcade games. We spent there 1 week, and it was amazing. In the first day, I was talking to Clark, and I told him I wish I were confident enough to go swimming. I was obese for my entire life, but in the last year, I managed to lose over 60 kilograms. I went every day to the gym, and I kept a strict diet, and it was worth it. However, now I have a lot of loose skin all around my belly. I told all of these to Clark, and July overheard us. She was very nice and said that my loose skin is the result of a very impressive journey, so I should not feel ashamed of it. She encouraged me to go swimming if I wanted to and assured me that nobody is perfect. She even joked that her stretch marks are more visible than my loose skin. The next day in the morning, July was the only one at the pool. She has extremely light skin and she only stays in the sun during early morning hours and late afternoon hours. I wanted to go swimming, but I was reluctant to do this while she was there. She was again very supportive and even said she can go back inside if I wanted to be alone. I appreciated this, but it did not seem fair, so I just sat on the edge of the pool and talked to her. It was the first time I've ever been alone with her, and I realized she must be one of the nicest people I know. During that week, every morning I woke up very early hoping that July would not be at the pool so I can go swimming, but every morning she was there. At some point I just got rid of my t-shirt and started swimming in front of her. Her reaction was so nice. Not only she looked at my loose skin and she talked to me like nothing happened, when she went back inside, she said in a very serious tone that I was right to be concerned and not want to be seen without my t-shirt. She said all the single girls would probably pass out if they saw me swimming. I laughed and thanked her for her support and kindness. During the last day I was talking to July and I thanked her again. She said she felt concerned and anxious about her body for many years, but Clark helped her and now she feels more confident than ever. I looked at her and just saw all her flaws. She was overweight, pale like a vampire, and not a single feature was beautiful or even appealing. She looked so common, like a background character in a very underwhelming movie. In that moment, my big stupid mouth just said to her what my brain thought without any filter. I figured that if you're confident enough to wear a swimsuit, I should also feel confident. I mean, you did not even go to the gym and you're not on any diet, but you're having fun no matter what people think about you. I saw her smile fading away and she suddenly looked so sad. She said that I was right and walked away. Immediately I felt so stupid for what I said. She was kind, nice and kind, and in return I told her that she should not be so confident in her body. She showed me a lot of support and I hurt her. I apologized that day many times, but each time she just said that it was okay. She never told Clark anything as he acted the same towards me, which is even worse because it means that she's even nicer than I thought. Since that day, I saw July only a few times, and each time I apologized. However, she's still cold with me and doesn't speak to me at all if we're alone. Tomorrow, I will meet her again for Christmas. I bought her a present, a book that she really wanted, but she could not find it anywhere. I just hope after I will give her the present, she will forgive me, or at least she will see how much I regret my words. Oof. I don't know what I don't know what to say. Like, yeah, you didn't really choose your words the best there. Always best to take a moment to think before you speak about potentially sensitive topics. Yeah, the best you can do is just apologize and be completely open and honest. But, I mean, yeah, I don't expect her to suddenly be like, you know what? Yeah, it is fine. You said something that was really, really harmful to, you know, how I feel about myself, and I'll just forget it now. Like, hopefully it'll get better with time, but I don't know. That's a rough one. I hope things work out. I do. I know you didn't mean to be hurtful, but yeah, that would hurt me. I don't think I'd have an easy time getting over that one. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.